What is going on? I am Cole. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to go over some of my most anticipated comics for New Comic Book Day this coming Wednesday, which is November 23rd. So if you want to see which comics I'm looking most forward to reading, make sure to stay tuned after the intro.
Most anticipated comic books. Most anticipated comic books from Cole.
Big shout out to my dude, Dan Piercy over at D Piercy Comics. I will have the link to his channel up here. He actually wrote that song for the intro on this. So let me know what you think. Did you like the OG intro? Do you like the new intro? I think this one's kind of funny. Let me know if you think that there's a little too much going on. I don't know. It got kind of hard to figure out how to put everything down on the page, but I think I like it so far. So let me know what you think. I'm probably going to edit these and add what I picked from the previous week to the new week's intro, but hopefully, it'll kind of keep things going and be a little bit more fresh, but also let you know what kind of books I'm talking about from the previous weeks. So yeah, let me know what you think about that, and yeah, we'll go from there. Instead of talking about that, you guys are probably here to see which books I'm most interested in. So let's get to that. But as I kind of always say, one of the things I like to bring up is that I use League of Comic Geeks to look at what I am pulling each week. So as you can see, this is kind of a good example of what you see here. I like it because you can add books to your pull list or however you want. But the reason why I always lead with this is that sometimes I get things wrong, right? There are certain books that I sometimes talk about that actually have not been released or get pushed back a little bit. I know that last week I ended up doing mine live, and one of the things is I had a book on my list of books to talk about that actually ended up getting pushed back to this week. So we will get to that one soon, but sometimes things get delayed because I make this video earlier to let you know what I'm kind of thinking and what I like before it comes out. It does sometimes have a few issues with things getting delayed. So I just always like to lead with that. But also, if you have another place that you use to check what's going on, I'd love to hear it. The one thing I know people have recommended is previews. But the thing I don't like about previews all the time is that they don't have everything. They don't have DC books there, and they don't have, like Bad Ideas not located there. And a few other of these, publishers are not on their site, unfortunately. So for the first book, I'm going to do Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, #1. This is written by Jason Aaron with artist Rico Renzi. This is a new Boom Studios book. I know recently when I mentioned specs, I haven't been talking about Boom Studio books as much. I don't know. I feel like Boom Studios was really good, and there was a lot of stuff that I was really loving from them, and they seem to go down a little bit for me. But Jason Aaron is an author that I think some people might say is hit or miss, and I agree with that. But when he's on a new indie title, he is a big enough author that I think it's probably worth checking it out to see every time. And one of the things that I've noticed on this cover, I was looking kind of through, I've been looking at some of these covers now a little bit more, especially with, getting into some cover art a little bit more. I noticed that there is two. John Jang, who was at Grand Rapids Comic Con last weekend, and I got to meet him. He has two covers on this. I noticed they are both on the 616. So if you are interested, I should probably have a link to both of those, and I've probably showed them on the screen. I really like his art style, and after meeting him, he's just such a genuinely nice dude that I think maybe I might actually end up going and grabbing some of these variants if I like the story. Another book that I have on my list, this is another #1. It is Nobody's Girl, #1. This book is coming out from Sumerian Comics. I think that's how you say it. And it is writer Damian Conley. If you are unsure about that publisher, it is because they used to be called Behemoth Comics. But I think there was some sort of a copyright thing, maybe. I don't know the full thing. But this is another book from them. If you knew Damian Conley actually wrote another book called You Promised Me Darkness that I really liked. It was really weird and muddy and thing. But this, this book, they say is the punchline, a story about sex violence, loneliness, and disappointment. So, hey, that sounds kind of depressing. And sometimes I like a little weird, depressing comic book. I really liked his art style. It is dark and muddy, and, it's not for everyone. I know that a lot of people did not like You Promised Me Darkly, mainly because of the art. It was definitely also a very oddball comic, but I enjoyed it, and I'm excited to check this one out, and hopefully I enjoy it too. So for you that have been watching this series, I have recently, over the last 2 weeks, invited some friends over to let me know what their most anticipated comic is. I figure, I add some weird stuff here, and sometimes I try and add number ones, unlike, just doing stuff that I thoroughly enjoy reading and not being caught up on everything. Sometimes makes it a bit harder to put stuff that are in the later issues. So sometimes, people will provide that, and that's what we're getting with this one. So I'm going to kick it over to my dude, Bearded Comic Bro. He's going to give me his most anticipated comic, and we're going to talk about it after that.
What's going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I'm here to tell you about my most anticipated comic book of November 23rd. But before I do that, I just got to give a big shout out to Coleman. Thank you so much for having me on. We have gotten to do a lot of shows together and created a lot of content and stuff together, so this is a lot of fun, though, to do something new and just talk about what comic book I'm most excited about. And if for some reason you are watching Cole's channel and you don't know me, we literally do a show together every month, so you should know. But I guess it's kind of like separated show, but kind of the same thing. But anyways, I digress. But if I'm Bearded Comic Bro, I do a lot of content, a lot of creator interviews. So most every Monday I drop new interviews with creators of Kickstarters, of DC, Marvel, indie books, Image, Top Cow, Scout Comics, you name it, they've been on. And I also create a lot of content with my wife. We do a game show called Name That Character, where we quiz each other and things like that. We do a cooking show. She does reviews of movies. She does reviews of comics. So it's just a lot of fun of just different shenanigans that we can do to just make comics fun. So with that being said, let's talk about the book I'm most excited for. And this is a really tough one to do because there are a lot of books that are right up there that I'm like, ooh, I want to do 3, but Cole said 1. So gang, when I was looking at the list of everything coming out, because this was the first time before recording this video that I saw it, there's a lot of good ones coming out this week, but the one that's caught my eye, I have been loving Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. We're back. They took a little hiatus. We've been back for a couple issues for the second arc, and gang, it has been glorious. Smallwood's artwork on this is a masterpiece in and of itself. Tom King is writing one of my favorite stories that he's written. It's just so stinking good. But the thing that it's why book 9 is on the cover, gang, because there on the cover was the Human Target, and he is in the shadow of the freaking Batman. Ooh wee, let's go. I like Batman. So when I saw Batman on a book that I've been adoring all year, and I know it's going to be in my top 10 favorite books of this year, gang, I'm pumped. I'm so excited for this book because we're getting to see the Batman in Human Target. Let's go. Colt, back to you.
So it's funny, I'm kind of behind on this. I think I have 3 or 4 issues that I am behind on the Human Target, and I was really considering catching up on them just so that I could read this issue, but I'm glad that you talked about it. So now you're either forcing me to read them this weekend, which we did get a lot of snow here, so I'm hoping that I can get caught up on some comics. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. I love Tom King. I love what he's doing. And unfortunately, sometimes with his books, I just get a little bit behind because I like reading them in chunks because, sometimes he can write a little bit more in-depth of a story. So if you're reading it monthly, sometimes you have to go back, and it just gets a little bit easier this way. But I have been digging this story a lot. So thank you for coming on. And as I mentioned earlier, the two of us have a cover challenge going right now. He actually has a giveaway tied to that. So if you haven't already, I'd say check his video out. And by making a cover challenge, you get entered in that giveaway with a little bit more. But I have been a pretty big fanboy about a certain publisher, and that is Bad Idea Publisher. Orc Island number 4 comes out, and I think this is the final issue of Orc Island. It is from Joshua Dysart and Alberto Ponticelli. I've been really digging this book. It has had some really awesome backup stories in it too. The most recent one was from Robert Venditti, and it was about I forget the beaver's name, but there's a beaver in it, and I think that one's getting a part 2. I don't know if it's coming in this issue. They've kind of kept things a little bit weird, and you don't really know what you're expecting to get, but I would love to see, hopefully, that in this next issue too. But I think this is the final issue. Issue number 3 left us with this kind of weird alliance that the main character has to form with kind of an unknown ally. So I'm at least excited to see that. I have been doing shorts for these, so maybe I'll have last issues up here. If you want a quick little recap, I go over some of that stuff, and it's probably in a little bit more detail because usually I make that short directly after I read the issue. But as I've been trying to enter the Bad Idea Fan Cup, I really like this book, and as much as people hate their marketing and some of the things that they do, I think that the quality of book that they are putting out is very high. And, while there is a lot of negativity around them, I think that they are pretty cool. And I really enjoy these books. So if you do have a Bad Idea shop near you, I highly recommend checking these books out because worst case scenario, it is at least a high quality comic book that has a pretty good story in it. So these next 2 books, actually, I think all of these books that I've had that are not number 1s are going to be the final issues in their books. And the next book up we have is Sacrament, number 4. This is from AWA Upshots. I have been digging this story. I've read the first 2. It's kind of like this weird, it takes religion and space and a little bit of sci-fi and horror. They have a lot of horror elements in a lot of their books at AWA, and I'm really big into that. I've really dug this, and hey, this is a final issue coming out, so I just wanted to kind of talk about this book so that maybe, we could add into it. If you're looking for something, it might be worth grabbing this in trade if this is coming out. Next up, we have Mindset number 5. I think this is the final issue of this book. This is from Zach Kaplan, and it's on Vault Comics. Once again, shout out to Pull List Examiner, who turned me onto this book. I've really enjoyed it. It's kind of about these guys that create this app, and this app can start doing mind control, which, in today's society, it seems like maybe this is something that could be happening soon. I've been digging this book so far. It is from Vault Comics, and it's one of those books I wanted to add this here because if you are not familiar with Zach Kaplan, he seems to be doing a lot of really good sci-fi stuff, and I know that that's why the Pull List Examiner really liked their work. So I wanted to add this one just to kind of let people know, hey, this might be a book that you might want to look for the trade as it should be coming out. So there is one more book that I want to talk about. Normally I only do 5. I've been kind of adding here's some stuff that I'm going to drop from my list, or here's something that is a second issue that I think I really liked. But I've got one book that I think I wanted to talk about because I know that there were a lot of people talking about this book, and that is Vanish. Issue number 3, that comes out this week. It is from Image Comics with art from Ryan Stegman and writing from Donnie Cates. The reason I wanted to bring this book up is that there was a panel from issue number 2 that caused a lot of controversy. I heard a lot of people talking about it. The one thing I don't know that besides, I know that Comics by the Bay had a person who watched his that was kind of upset with a panel that he used for a thumbnail. And I'm just kind of wondering, are there other people out there that this kind of that panel or that scene from issue number 2 really made you not want to read this book anymore? So it deals with, this is a slight spoiler in this, but it deals with a scene from 9/11. And personally, one of the things that I kind of took from this is that Donnie Cates is similar in age to me. I remember watching that happen in I was actually in my civics class. So I watched that on the news as it was happening. And, it was a very sad day for everyone in the United States. And I don't think that Donnie Cates was using this as a way to stir things up or cause drama. I think he was just trying to say that these people, even in the worst circumstances in their time or of their time, they're not interacting to make change, even if it could be something possible. And I know that I had talked to a few people, and I think Brian LCS said, it did get me thinking, what if there was something out there that could have stopped this and they just decided not to, which, definitely makes you think. But I think that mostly that scene for him, at least, and who knows, maybe I don't know anything, but I would think it was more just saying hey, this is such a huge tragedy that even in something that is probably the worst tragedy in most people who are reading this book's, recent memories, they're still not going to interact. And I think that's what I took from it. So I just like to know, I mean, were there other people that were upset? And maybe I'm even thinking about this wrong. I like to talk about comics because certain people might have a different mindset or might think about these type of things differently than I do. And that's why I kind of do this show, to get other people's ideas. So I'd like to know, did anyone else have a different reaction to that? Did you think it was just him trying to like do something edgy and weird to get attention? I personally don't think that, but I'd like to know what other people are thinking. So let me know. I've really enjoyed Vanish, and I think it's a pretty good book so far. So once again, those were my most anticipated comics for the week. For everyone that has returned from last week, thank you so much. It means the world to me that you guys are coming out here and watching me talk about the comics that I'm into. Let me know down below if there's any comic book that you are looking forward to, or even are there any covers? This week you saw I added that John Jang cover, and I really liked it. It's kind of, as I get into this a little bit more, there are some aspects, especially with collecting cards, of finding covers that you like and getting those covers. So I want to try and include some covers when I can. So also, if you have any covers that you'd recommend, I'd love to hear it. But if you are new, please think about subscribing if you liked what you saw. And if you did not like what you saw, leave me a comment down below and let me know, what I could do to improve or make this better. If you are a fellow YouTuber, or you don't even have to be a YouTuber, but if you want to tell me about your most anticipated comic, I would love to have other people on here. Please make sure to hit me up on Instagram or in the comments below, and we can figure out a way to make that happen. Once again, thank you to my dude, Bearded Comic Bro. If you are not checking him out, but you are here, I don't know what to tell you. We do something every month together, so I would assume you should know both of us at this point, but give him a sub if you aren't, because he is an awesome dude. But also, thank you all for coming by. I have been Cole, and peace.
Most anticipated comic books. Most anticipated comic books from Cole.